Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the show. It is your host, Lizzie Morris, or you can also call me the Woman's Advocate. I'm a 26-year-old mom of two, entrepreneur, inspirational speaker, advocate, mentor, and friend. And I'm on a mission to empower you on your healing journey, help you find your inner voice, and guide you to step into the most powerful advocate any woman could have, herself. My goal after you leave the podcast is for you to feel empowerful in your right to bodily autonomy, inspired to self-educate and advocate, and ready to step into the next level that your womanhood has to offer you. Subscribe to the show and always check the show notes for added resources, value, and information on how to work one-on-one with me, Lizzie, the Woman's Advocate, and other ways to contact me if you have questions. I hope you guys enjoy this episode of the show, and I will see you next time. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm so happy to have you as the plus size woman's advocate. And we got to redo that intro soon, huh? So today, last week, actually, we did a, general Q&A around plus size pregnancy, maybe some questions that I find asked quite frequently in, Facebook groups or questions I had myself before having kids or even after the first and second child. There's always things that we're learning about our bodies and new information we're presented and, new people we're meeting. And so different myths and truths and half-truths and just a lot of things can come to us and be presented to us during motherhood. And, the whole point of this podcast is I want you as a woman in general, but we're obviously gearing towards the plus size women, right? I want you to feel informed, empowered, and confident in your body and the decisions you're making, whether that looks different from me or different from your best friend, about you feeling that you have informed, true education and consent with whatever you're doing moving forward in your motherhood journey is where we start to feel really empowered. And so take this. This is not medical advice, but take this with what you will. And let's get into some of these myths that I see with plus size pregnancy. Okay. So let's talk about myth number one, that plus size pregnancy is riskier. Now there's lots of evidence out there, different places like PubMed and whatever that you can find articles written on different risks that are associated with having, let's say, a BMI over a certain BMI type thing. The thing is that I had a conversation with a woman named Michelle. I did not know how to say her last name, but she is the author of Fat Birth. It's a great book. She has an Instagram page called Fat and Pregnant, I believe. So I'll have it linked below so you can go check her out. She's really, really cool. She's a really big advocate for, helping the plus size community. And I was on her podcast, and that episode will be coming out hopefully sometime this year. So I will update you guys when it does launch. But we were having this conversation on Zoom, and I myself was telling her that, I can see, based on studies that I've read that plus size women have, I can't even remember exactly what we were talking about, but I think it was about Pitocin. Either way, it doesn't matter. It was a study about plus size women and how I was like, well, I can see how that study makes sense and why plus size women might have this issue. And she was like, I see what you're saying and I've heard that, and I have to look more into it. But, who's to say that these scenarios or these outcomes aren't half depicted by the bias that your provider is giving? So for instance, the amount of interventions that maybe you're having a plus size pregnancy that's super healthy, you have great blood pressure, you have great blood sugar, everything is going A1, amazing, right? But because of your BMI, because of the potential risks associated with a number that's thrown on you, right? They want to do biophysical profiles at the end. They want to do more NSTs. They want to induce you at 37 to 39 weeks, or there's lots of different things that might pop up, right? It depends on the person and what and the bias that you might be receiving. And so there may be evidence out there, or I hate the word evidence, honestly. A lot of people love evidence-based information, but evidence is it's biased too. So this is why going with what you feel is makes the most sense to you is the most important, honestly. But there are studies that have said that, having a BMI of XYZ increases your risks of having gestational diabetes and increases your risk of shoulder dystocia. And my thought when reading that was like, well, I wonder how many providers don't feel comfortable for a plus size mom to get in a really comfortable position, which might be standing up, which might be moving their legs a certain way. But because they're bigger, there's a lack of support and a lack of willingness to help them. And I know that's like hard to digest, but, and so you got to think of the risks in that way. And I never thought about it that way. I didn't even think of it in that way, but it makes so much sense. And so to say in general, like your plus size pregnancy is riskier because your BMI, the BMI that you hold is attached to all of these studies. It's essential to remember that every pregnancy is unique. So, my biggest advice is obviously hiring a good provider, okay, which we already know, right? We'll do a whole episode on that soon. But also taking proactive steps to prioritize your health, and I would say that for any woman, to avoid these risks by supplementing, taking good supplements in pregnancy, by moving your body in fun ways that feel good to you, by staying hydrated and just eating a good, balanced meal every 3 hours. I don't even like the word diet, right? So just whatever kind of food you're eating, try to have a balanced nutrition. And that alone, for any person, no matter what BMI, no matter what size, is going to help lower your risks of certain things, okay? So myth busted. Plus size pregnancy is not always riskier. It's a very individual basis. Myth number 2, plus size moms can't have natural births. Okay, and this is so silly because we all, what changes about your uterus? What changes about your cervix? What changes about your vagina? Nothing. So your size does not determine your ability to have a natural birth. Many plus size women for long periods of time, okay, have been having natural births successfully without complications. And one of the biggest things for advocating and to have your natural birth is to make sure that you have done proper prenatal education. And I don't mean just going to the hospital's birth class. I mean taking a birth course, taking a hypnobirthing course, maybe attending ICAN meetings, it's the International Cesarean Awareness Network. Now, maybe you've never had a C-section, maybe you're not a VBAC mom, but that is just one of the most solid, supportive places that I've ever been. I wish I would have known about it before I had my first. So finding the community and finding the spaces and places to help empower you to have that natural birth and to keep you in the right mind space and to keep that support flowing and the love going, that is such a big key. And hiring the provider is the key to getting closest to your birth desires as you want, right? The birth outcomes. So with all of those things, your birth process can empower you to make informed decisions that align with your birth preferences. So if you guys hear that, I have my dishwasher going, but the kids are napping and I have got to get work done, right? Okay, so myth number 3, you should gain minimal weight during pregnancy. So I've seen this recommendation. Maybe you have seen it too. So I think I'm not going to have the numbers completely correct, but somewhere around if you're in an average, healthy BMI per se, they say you can gain 25 to 45 pounds, somewhere around that. And with plus size women I've seen, they usually want it 15 to 20 max. And I find it silly. I even see in plus size pregnancy groups, women wanting to diet while they're pregnant. They're wanting to lose weight or maintain their weight. And when I was pregnant with my first, I will say with both of my pregnancies, one of the great things was, despite my terrible experience with my providers, weight was never brought up. Doesn't mean the bias wasn't there. Oh, the bias is there, right? The body does that. The scale doesn't even have to say all the talking, right? But they never brought up weight. And with my first, I gained 5 pounds. I didn't carry to full term though. And then with my second, I gained 19. And let me tell you, I had a much healthier pregnancy, or I think it was like 16. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Either way, I had a much healthier pregnancy the second time with more weight gain. I remember my first, I was terrified of gaining weight. I actually have a YouTube video about it because I had been losing weight. I had been doing all this great stuff. I was like, I don't want to retract my progress. That's so sad. Like, we're building babies, people. I want you to understand that prioritizing proper nutrition is the most important over actually counting calories, over trying to hit 10,000 steps, over stressing about the scale. Oh my gosh. Like, please don't stress out about gaining weight. Just if you're going to do anything, prioritize proper nutrition, period. And that will give you so much more of a smoother and complementary feeling to your pregnancy. Okay, so myth number 4, plus size moms always need C-sections. So I've been digging more into this, that I don't have the exact statistics. I don't want to get it wrong, but that plus size women do have more C-sections in the hospital than the average size mom. Now let's keep in mind 1 in 3 women in America overall are already having C-sections. No matter what size you are, your risk of, if you're birthing in the hospital, the risk of having a C-section goes up ginormously. Okay. Planning a home birth with a certified midwife or someone you trust, planning the birth in the way you want to at home, in a safe, loving environment, your chances of things just going healthier and less stressful overall are going to be higher. Going to the hospital increases your chance of a C-section, period, no matter what, if you have a uterus. Okay. So what this goes back to is myth number 1, like plus size pregnancy is riskier. So we got to think of how many more plus size women are being induced with low Bishop scores. Like for myself, I was induced at 37 weeks. I'm pretty sure my Bishop score, and if you don't know what that is, I don't know whether to call it silly or whether to call it clever, but it's this chart system, scoring technique based on how your cervix looks, if it's anterior, if it's posterior, how many centimeters dilated you are, what position the baby's in, and some other things, I think. But the studies show having a low Bishop score increases your chance of a C-section dramatically. And so if we're inducing more plus size women at 36, 37, 38 weeks before they even have any cervical change or anything progressing towards the onset of labor, then your chances of ending in a C-section are dramatically higher. That is just what the studies are showing out there. And so we just have to go back to, are plus size women statistically being induced and having these cascade of interventions and things that we're just trying to look for, even if they're not there, that are causing these outcomes. I would say, I would think that is a big piece of it. So no, plus size mamas, you do not need to always have a C-section, just because you're bigger. It's your vagina can still, your uterus and vagina can still do the things. So myth number 5, plus size moms can't breastfeed, which this is crazy to me. Although I will tell you guys, if you don't know part of my story, I have dealt with chronic low supply in the past, which is called insufficient glandular tissue. I don't talk about it often, but I would like to bring awareness to it more in the future. Now, that itself can be linked to things like insulin resistance, diabetes, and everyone's different. So again, this is just risk factors. Like I say, just like we said before, everyone's different and everyone has their own health history. But certain things like that can affect milk supply. However, there are women that have PCOS, that may have type 2 diabetes, that may have thyroid issues and they have an abundance of milk. So it's really this weird, crazy thing. And so in my low supply group, I will tell you, I see, I think I see more straight size women than plus size women, if I'm being honest. It's, you don't, and for a while I thought that maybe, because of having a C-section, like more and more women were dealing with low supply. I do think it messes more with a breastfeeding, or it can disturb the breastfeeding relationship in the beginning, no matter if the woman has great supply or not, just because of the hormones and the medications and all that. But even in my low supply group, it's about 50-50. Like 50% of the women had C-sections, 50% of the women had vaginal births. So it's really just something that, to have low milk supply, it's just kind of a genetic thing. And you can't determine it being plus size. Like if a doctor were just to look at you and say, yeah, well, bigger women can't breastfeed. I mean, I've seen the stories, right? Saying that a bigger woman can't breastfeed, and because of this and because of that. Please don't let that be if you want to breastfeed, please don't let someone automatically put you in a category because of your BMI once again, that you can't breastfeed. I've seen so many plus size moms breastfeed. Oh my gosh. There are some kick-ass plus size breastfeeding moms on TikTok I see all the time. I can't even think. I think Dula Katie is one. Oh, is that who I'm thinking of? I don't know. I can think of a couple, but in my mind. So low milk supply is super, super rare in general. And the odds of you having a great milk supply and a baby that takes to the breast and has this great breastfeeding relationship are much, much higher. Just like having a vaginal birth or having a natural birth or anything like that. If you have the right support and the right mindset and the right people around you, then in the right education, then things can flow really well. And so there are things like working with an IBCLC, which is internationally board certified lactation consultant. If you do have some breastfeeding problems come up, I can guarantee you it would have nothing to do with your size. It might be baby's latch. It might be, tongue ties, lip ties. Maybe you and the baby need to go to the chiropractor, which usually helps a lot of those things. There's so many different ways and techniques and people out there to help you have a successful breastfeeding journey. And so I don't want you to think that being plus size omits you from having these natural births and this breastfeeding journey and this motherhood vision. So hopefully by dispelling some of these myths that you feel empowered with the knowledge and the confidence to embrace your plus size pregnancy journey. Maybe you aren't pregnant yet. Maybe you're trying to conceive. Maybe you plan to have more kids in the future. Maybe you are trying to heal through a past pregnancy experience and you're just trying to seek out other people who know what it feels like to go what you've been through. I just want you to remember that you are so strong, you are capable, and you are deserving of a positive and uplifting experience in your pregnancy and your motherhood. And it's not always sunshine and rainbows, okay? I don't want to give this expectation that it's just all fun all the time, but you can absolutely, when you surround yourself with the right people, when you have the right skills and mindset in place, you can absolutely enhance your experiences and set boundaries where they're needed and, feel more confident in moving forward with the decisions you're making. And so if you guys want to, you can check out my website in the show notes. I have some fun stuff going on over there. You can always check out me on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all the social media platforms, which are always linked in the show notes as well. Trying to think if there's anything else. I got some new stuff coming. I got a freebie coming out for you guys soon, and I'm really, really excited to talk about it. But that's going to be on the horizon, so just be on the lookout. I don't want to give out too much away yet. But make sure you guys subscribe to the show. If you're on Spotify, I have like some kind of crazy thing where if I have so many Spotify people, I get like upgraded or I don't know. So if you're specifically on Spotify or if you have Spotify and you could listen on there, that would be really, really awesome. But make sure you can rate the show, leave a review. That helps me get pushed out more for the other plus size mamas that, need this in their algorithm, right? They need the support. So if you want to share this episode and tag me on your stories on Instagram at the Lizzie Morris, LIZZY MORRIS. I would love to repost and see how you liked it. But otherwise, I'm going to let you guys go, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.